It's Wednesday, April 13th, 2011. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, MoCCA Fest 2011.
Let's do this.
I'm finally catching up on Hokuto no Ken.
Oh, really?
Ever since PAX, when we showed everyone Hokuto Zankai Ken for the 1,000th time.
I don't know how that's possible considering you are dead. How could you watch TV if you are dead?
I don't know. There's something. Just suddenly I was inspired to start watching it again, and I'm blowing through like 2 or 3 episodes a day. It's sad, but I just met Toki. I got a ways to go.
All right.
But we would do more shows on anime, but Scott doesn't want to watch anything.
I watch so many animes, you have no idea.
So let's do a show on something.
Well, I watched these animes a while ago, and I don't think you watched the same ones.
I don't think you've watched anything I've watched. We got to swap. I think we should do a movie. I think we should do like Vampire Hunter D or the Slayers movies or something.
Didn't we already do Slayer's movie?
We did the Slayers movie.
That's the only one.
We could do one of the other mini movies like the OAVs.
You're going to talk about 30 minutes. The things aren't even 30 minutes long. We could watch it in the time it takes to talk about it.
I think I could do a show on one of those.
What would be the point?
What about Vampire Hunter D? It's only an hour long, but it feels like 4 hours.
No, it
I feel like we should do some old anime movies, maybe even some bad ones.
Legend of Lemnir.
I could watch that shit again.
you all on your own.
Here's what I remember about Legend of Lemnir. There's a dude and a girl, there's breasts, and then I fell asleep. I woke up and the credits were rolling and nobody talked about it again except how bad it was.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, one down.
Done.
Yeah.
Next.
So is there any anime-related news?
No, really. All the news is totally lame and sad.
How about comics? Any comic news?
No, it's all really lame and sad.
Yeah, well, the Comic-Con in New York isn't until October.
Well, thing is around this time of year, all these, these companies are not exactly active companies that have things going on all the time, right? They're kind of slow. They don't have a lot of stuff. They're not big. So it's not like they have news every week or you can't have a blog. It's if you had a blog, you'd have to have a blog about all the companies at once in order to be able to fill it with content. So, it's like, well, when it comes time for San Diego Comic-Con, which is in July, right? Leading up to it, they save up all their news and their announcements. So
well, I think the trouble is more that what news will they ever have? What news will the comic industry in America ever have other than Spider-Man is continuing? Spider-Man is now being drawn by this person instead of that person.
Well,
Wolverine has been added to a 4th team.
What, 10th team?
Yeah.
They do have news that we could talk, if you want to talk about that kind of stuff, right? For example, lately, DC, every summer, these companies usually, Marvel and DC, have big events, right? The big crossover events.
Yep, the crisis of infinite comic books that nerds have to buy.
Right, so the nerds are actually complaining because DC's big event is Flashpoint. It has something to do with the Flash. Ooh. But apparently, and I know this because they sent me a free copy of the
How does the Flash not age?
Don't ask. There's multiple different Flashes. There was the original.
Wait, why are there? What happened to the old? Where's the oldest one?
There was the Golden Age Flash. I think he's dead.
So is it? It's a new guy.
Yeah, there was the Golden Age Flash.
Does the new guy?
There was the Silver Age Flash.
Did the new guy know the old guy?
Yeah.
So they met each other. How'd he pass on his power?
They didn't pass on the power. They all have the same power separately.
So, yeah, that sounds perfectly plausible.
The same way that a bunch of different people from planet Krypton, if they all came to Earth, they're all Superman.
But how did the Flash get his power in the first place?
I don't know. I'm not the Flash expert. This is like basic nerd. I only know like the barest minimal information about the Flash. There was I don't know which. I know that some of the names of the Flash. There's a Flash named Wally Wood, and there's a Flash named something else. I don't know, but there's like 3 different Flashes, basically, right? And there was the Golden Age Flash, then there was the Silver Age Flash, and in Crisis on Infinite Earths...
Oh, God, there's like 6 Flashes on this Wikipedia page.
In Crisis on Infinite Earths, the second Flash died, and the Kid Flash, right, became the Flash. And now that Kid Flash is the Flash, but there's a new Kid Flash. So... there's like the Kid Flash.
Really, Wikipedia? Thanks so much. All incarnations of the Flash possess super speed. Blah, 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 blah. They all acquired it by some means.
Yes.
Thanks.
Something you do with the Speed Force.
The Speed Force.
It's something like that. It's some bullshit like that.
Is there red Speed Force as opposed to blue Speed Force?
No, that's
green Speed Force?
That's Green Lanterns have that. There's Green Lanterns and Black Lanterns and White Lanterns and orange and blue.
Kryptonite
and
also
and,
has that.
I know. I bet the Flash. They won't Flash. Maybe that's what Flashpoint is about. But anyway, the reason that the nerds are complaining about.
Wait, how come Bizarro Flash is still fast?
That's a good question.
Why isn't he slow?
Good point. You win. The winner is you.
Anyway,
they're complaining about Flashpoint because get this, ready?
Yeah?
It's made up. There is a core series that's like
it's
the
made up.
Well, obviously, there's a core Flashpoint series that's the mini series that is Flashpoint, right? But then of course there's all these other books that cross into it. Like if you read regular old issues of the Flash, well, they're gonna have something to do with Flashpoint. But they have also started a bunch of mini series just for Flashpoint that are Flashpoint miniseries. They're all 3 issues. Guess how many miniseries they're making for Flashpoint?
You wouldn't ask unless the number was
really
high.
big or really small.
40.
16. So that's 16 times 3 issues of Flashpoint miniseries crossovers. And the nerds are like complaining big time.
The nerds are like, you're taking my money.
Think about it. Each of those is $3. $3 times 16 times 3 to get all these just crossover, less important Flashpoint issues. And the reason I know this is because the giant stupid catalog, they sent me a free copy without me asking for it. So.
All right.
But anyway.
I guess he doesn't kill anyone.
Whatever.
I'm reading this article on The Flash. It's kind of not interesting.
No kidding. You don't say. Anyways, here is kind of a news. 4 kids, right?
4 kids.
Right, so 4 kids is sort of hard to understand what 4 kids is all about because it's sort of like, well, where does 4 kids begin and Funimation end? Basically, 4 kids is, one of those programming blocks you see on TV. So if you watch certain kids channels, I think CW at Saturday morning, you'll see like a block of cartoons.
Well, remember Cartoon?
Yeah.
Or Nicktoons?
Well, this is different. This is like a company, puts together a block and then rents that block to the TV channel. Cartoon or Nicktoons was actually run by the channel.
It was, but it was still a block of semi-related programming, either related
It would be
on the
like
front half or
it'd
the
be
back
like if
half.
Toonami, when Toonami still existed, was its own company, and Cartoon Network paid Toonami to put Toonami on the Cartoon Network.
Toonami was great with its original host.
The original,
and then they really,
Moltar. Yeah, that was the good days. Anyway. So 4 kids, they're responsible for bringing some shows to the U.S. like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and Shaman King and a bunch of crap and ruining One Piece in the U.S., stuff like that. But basically, they were recently sued by, Japan because apparently there was some question that they may have been making money off of Yu-Gi-Oh! And like hiding that money from the actual owners of Yu-Gi-Oh! In Japan.
I could see that happening.
So that they didn't have to give them royalties. It's like, they bought the Yu-Gi-Oh! License, but then they made money off the Yu-Gi-Oh! License. They made like extra money off of it by selling DVDs. And isn't there another lawsuit going on involving the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards?
Oh my God, I forgot about that. The company that was making them, what may have been making bootlegs, I barely remember.
Yeah, there's this weird stuff going on with that too, and that's not 4 kids as far as I can tell. So there's all sorts of weird stuff with Yu-Gi-Oh! But or maybe it's just the Japanese licensor owner of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is getting all angry and wants to try to, I don't know.
Wow, I have this vision of a Dave and Joel style boardroom where they're sitting around. They're like, Tanaka, we need you to rip off the stupid Americans.
Go get all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Monies from America. We didn't get enough when we're poor.
Be inscrutable.
Right. Anyway, so 4 kids, right? Partially because of that lawsuit and partially just because they suck. Finally, they were on a downhill spiral for a long time. I mean, they were getting delisted and stuff, right? But now they have declared the Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Good old Chapter 11.
Which means, for those of you who don't know, this is pretty much, you think Chapter 11. Well, now that's 11 different things you have to know. Really, no, you don't have to know 11 different things. You have to know 2 different things, right? You have to know 11 and 7 because no one ever uses any other number besides 11 or 7.
I'll just gloss over that. Come on, moving on.
7 is we are done, we're going away, goodbye. And 11 is we're going to keep doing work even though we're out of money.
And we don't have to pay people anymore.
Yeah, awesome.
Could have seen that one coming.
Yep.
Actually, I'm surprised it took this long because
I always wonder why people take so long. It's like you're going down.
You want to know why? It's very simple.
It's like if you're in the bathroom, you don't have to declare bankruptcy yet. But once a toe is in the toilet, you might as well. You know you're going down.
But Scott, here's the thing. Say I am on the board.
No one escapes the toilet bowl.
Say I'm on the board of a company, and I am technically beholden to the shareholders. If I know the company is going bankrupt, and because of the base product we make is shit, and there's no way to make the company profitable again, it is a lost cause, I cannot tell them that. I cannot run the business as though I know that, because they can then claim that I am in fact not running the business in their best interests.
Why don't you tell them that, and then they'll know that you're running the business in the best interest?
Except there's no way, because the moment it is revealed that I know, company's worth dick, because no one's going to buy it. It's not worth anything.
So the good.
Yeah, so basically...
your company is worth dick. If you're selling it to people for money when it's not worth dick,
so
and you're
companies
lying,
that are in a downward spiral
fraud.
will basically pretend that everything's fine until the last possible second when it's too late to get any money out of them. Once I've spent all my cash reserves, then I declare bankruptcy. If I declare before, they're going to take all my cash to pay my debts.
What do you need that cash for? You're just going to spend it on poop anyway.
Yeah, and I'm paying my employees longer, and it's
just give all the money to the employees. Like, hey, everyone, here's all the money. Open up a treasure chest. They all empty the treasure chest, and then you leave.
Now I'm legally liable to the shareholders for pissing away their money on nothing.
No, you tell them that the money was already gone, and you demonstrate that, you tell the shareholders beforehand, look, we're going to be out of business, and then you give the money away, and then you leave.
Nah, you know what? There's really no easy way out of our current political and economic system.
You just say, hey, look, this company's going down the shitter. Give the money back to the shareholders, and then leave.
Yeah, I would just quit.
Yeah, quitting is good, too.
Yeah.
The CEO, in fact, did quit, according to this article. The third quarter of 2010, the chairman and CEO, Alfred Kahn, resigned.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Now I just have, because, we're doing that anime openers from around the world, among other panels, Anime Boston next weekend. So I was putting the finishing touches on it, and I listened to the English opener to One Piece several times.
One Piece in the Grand.
What's the line? It's like he's sailing to find One Piece in the Grand Line.
Yeah.
In case he didn't know. Oh, how'd he get that way? He ate the gum fruit.
Yep.
Anyway. So there is some weird stuff going on in the manga world in Japan. And a lot of people, you've probably seen this so-called J-Komi Purify thing.
I never heard of this. What
really?
the hell is it?
It's all over the news. People have been tweeting about it. So basically, the deal is that J-Komi distributes manga legally.
Yep.
There is a lot of illegal manga out there, as in stuff that's out of print, but is translated or not, and you can just get scans of the whole thing. I mean, we have those scans of Sanctuary that are out there and such. And if
illegal as in copyright, or illegal as in they're showing the pink?
Copyright.
And it's Japan, you're not allowed to show the pink.
We're not talking about the pink.
Okay.
I mean, if pink were an issue, we'd be all over this, as would Daryl Surratt, but no pink.
Okay.
It's just copyright.
Okay.
So the deal is, all right, there is illegal, copyright infringing manga out there on file sharing networks. What if you go to the creator and you say, look, or whoever owns the license who won't reprint it for whatever reason, say, look, rather than prosecuting these people over the thing that you're not distributing, how about we take all the torrents and we put out better torrents. We take the scans out there. If we can, we put out better scans. And we put ads for all your new work in those torrents.
And we still make the torrents free.
Yes, and then we bless the torrents by saying, look, total amnesty, nobody's getting sued about sharing these.
All right.
And it's actually kind of a good idea. Now,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to get into all the details of it. You can read it yourself.
And do they make like a nice, accessible, easily searchable website where these torrents or files are hosted?
I haven't looked into that too much, but that...
Or are they just distributing them on the Pirate Bay with everything else?
It appears that might be on the docket to actually distribute some of this stuff straight up through J-Komi.
How about translating it to English?
So, what the root of this is that, remember that uproar among DeviantArt and Artist Alley types many years ago about how there was a clause in some new copyright law about orphaned works, where if a work was orphaned, then, oh no, you lose your copyright, and people who draw dog-headed girls were mad that they'd lose their copyright on the dog-headed girls.
Yeah, after like a zillion years.
So, I feel like we need something like that, but actually closer to this. We need a sort of way for either creators or
But
content
this
owners.
isn't an orphaned work situation. An orphaned work is when
I didn't say it was. I'm saying
it's like abandonware where
But Scott,
you have no idea. You can't contact the copyright holder.
Scott,
They're gone.
I know. I didn't say it was. But it's a similar situation in that here we have a work where we do know who made it, but there is no legitimate way to get the work at all.
There is. You have to contact the copyright holder, and it's up to them.
And they refuse to.
All right.
For whatever reason, they won't reprint it. So what do you do now? It's a work that can't be gotten, yet under copyright law, you can still sue people for distributing it.
It hasn't been abandoned, but you know,
I didn't say it has been.
I know, and they're refusing to distribute it or print it or make it available in any way.
So I think the genius here is that, one, Jay Comey is going to the creators and saying, look, it would be illegal. What do you say we get together and do this? It's basically a way to get around the problems of copyright law if all the people who have a vested interest in the printing play along.
All right.
I'm saying, yeah, it's a great idea. I think we need to do this more.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is basically like you just said, what do you do if they're not cooperating? Well, in this case, they are cooperating. So it's really not a change in any law or anything.
I didn't say it was a change in law, but in this case, I feel like people don't even think to go to the publishers and ask them.
They do. They ask them all the time, and they're always huge jerks. This is actually
When?
a rare.
I don't think as many people actually
Hey,
go.
Disney, we really, really, really want you to make Song of the South DVDs. Crickets.
Okay, so
Crickets.
Disney, giant faceless corporation.
Right,
But what
those are
about
the
smaller
ones.
stuff?
Those are the ones that are holding all the cards, especially in the U.S. This is a rare case. How many? It's pretty much most. of
There's tons of comics, mangas, even novels that are just out of print straight up.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that for many of these smaller things, especially for imagine
In the U.S., I've seen this many times over many years, my entire life, many works that it's like, hey, this is out of print. I really wish it was in print. Almost all of those cases are either A, abandoned where you can't find the rights holder or it's questionable, or B, there is a rights holder and they don't want to print it. It's very rare that you'll have a case where there is a rights
but
holder
Scott,
and
it's a difference between not wanting to print it and being willing to illegal distribution of it.
right. That's all it is that there are a few.
I don't
Japanese
think many
publishers-
people have gone to, especially in the U.S., people who do own a work and don't want to republish it, which you could understand why someone might not want to. Maybe you have a work where
It's
you
not
don't
going to sell.
Yeah, you don't think you'll make any money off of it.
Won't.
But go to them and say, hey, do you have anything new you're working on? Try to sell it to them. Like, look, this old property of yours is worth nothing, but I see you're working on a new thing. What if you let the old thing for free as advertising for the new thing? Try to sell it to the people who have a vested interest in it. You won't get Disney, but you'll get like the next level down of people.
Here's the problem. Let's say I start up a company, right? And I go around to people and I say, hey, I see you have this book. It's out of print, right? Why don't you let me make a free ebook and I'll put ads in it for whatever you're working on now. And then meanwhile, I put that on my website as a torrent and everyone downloads it.
Yep.
They see these ads. And meanwhile, I'm making money off other ads on the site that I'm selling. And now those people who works are being handed out are gonna want money from me. They're gonna be like, "Hey, no, I don't want. I'm done with this deal. You're making a lot of money."
Well,
off me."
you know what? That's just a contract negotiation.
Yeah, but that's the thing is most of them are gonna be jerks like that.
I don't know if they would necessarily.
A very few, and if they,
Because in Japan,
and that's another thing. Why do you need if you want to put torrents out of your own stuff that are blessed? Why do you need someone to do it for you? Just do it.
I think the problem is that people don't realize or think to do it in the first place.
You don't need if you own a work, you don't need somebody to help you distribute it. For free. You can
Scott,
just
I'm
do
saying
it.
I think there are people out there or companies out there that don't realize this is an option. Like they haven't even, think about in technology, how many times there is an obvious way to capitalize on something
Hey, you
and
got
people
this
just don't
old,
do it.
Hey, you made this old movie. You're never going to put it on DVD. Let me help you put it on YouTube. It's like, what? You can put it on YouTube on your own.
I don't think they realize they can. But anyway, I feel like we should go further, and I think I've said this on other shows before, especially for technology. I feel like in the U.S. at least, we need an eminent domain equivalent for copyright and patent.
Yeah, I do think that...
I feel like there should be extraordinary situations where the government can step in and do the same thing they do when they take away some guy's land to build a freeway, to take away some guy's IP to build an internet freeway.
Martin Luther King speech?
But anyway, it's time for Things of the Day. So, Banksy, you're familiar with him?
Yep.
Kind of street artist and such.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Banksy apparently backed a, quote, scatological Russian art collective
All right.
called Vonya.
Mm-hmm.
Vonya means war or
Nice.
the war.
Which war is that?
The war.
Okay.
The Vonya.
All right.
So Vonya likes to do, imagine improv everywhere, coupled with Banksy-style graffiti, coupled with sometimes being gigantic douches.
Mm-hmm.
One of their quote-unquote guerrilla art exhibits involved surrounding 4 police cars in like St. Petersburg and flipping them over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they did, and I've got some pictures of it, it's pretty great. This is very reminiscent of our old penis on the Parthenon.
Uh-oh.
But, quote, members of Vonya, 2 of whom are awaiting trial on hooliganism charges, whitewashed the decoration on a bridge in St. Petersburg.
Oh, I seen this.
When the
this
bridge-
is old.
Well, the news about this is what's cool.
Oh, okay.
So when the bridge was raised, because it was a drawbridge, an erect phallus ended up facing the local headquarters of the FSB, which
that happened a long time ago. I've
it
seen
happened in
that.
June,
Yep.
the successor to the KGB. So
That was like a year ago.
this was this huge graffiti, and it's a pretty great, gigantic penis. There are pictures of it everywhere.
It was awesome.
Mostly because it would erect itself every time a boat wanted to go under
I
it.
know, right?
So do you know what the work was actually called?
Mm.
A dick held prisoner at the FSB.
All right.
It was 65 meters tall. Now that alone,
That's only a meter longer than mine.
that alone would not qualify as a thing of the day because people draw dicks on stuff all the time. And while I enjoy dicks being drawn on things, actually last night, remember Cockmadeus?
Draw.
It came out of the vault, so I watched it again.
Uh-oh.
But it won a gigantic art contest.
Nice.
After a series of crazy drama, it won 400,000 rubles at the 2010 Innovation Prize by the National
Oh.
Center for Contemporary Arts in Moscow.
The 400,000 rubles is like $4.
That's like 10 grand.
No, it's not.
It's like 10 grand.
Ruples are worth shit.
They're not that bad.
At least it wasn't rupees.
God, I'm just thinking of Archer because it's 400,000 rubles, and the article says, which is the equivalent of 8,700 pounds. It's like, great. What's that in real money? Sorry. So, yeah, they were arrested for that. Banksy donated like 80,000 pounds to them
Yep.
to cover the costs of defending themselves for drawing this gigantic penis. But they were disqualified from competition a couple of times and reinstated, disqualified. There's this crazy drama.
Why is there such drama?
Because the police were like, you can't count that as an entry. They just spray painted a penis on a bridge.
That's art.
It was vandalism. And
Vandalism is also art at the same time.
yes, they're not mutually exclusive. And the fact that this one is pretty great. And I just find the whole
I'd
story
vote. I would have
amazing.
voted for it every time.
Yeah. To
What
quote,
could beat that?
so a guy, some Russian
Mona
guy
Lisa
talking
penis
about
on a
the prize
bridge.
jury said that he is happy that they defeated the bureaucrats who tried to deny the group the prize. Quote, they are professionals after all. And some of them are brave people.
Mm. So I was going to use something more annoying as my thing.
Now,
of the
I have
day.
one last thing.
Okay.
Vonya was not happy that they won the award for that work of art.
Uh-huh.
They had a better work of art that they thought should have won.
Which was?
A woman in the group was filmed stealing a chicken from a grocery store by inserting it into her vagina. To quote the same guy from before, now that was something.
I wouldn't. I would have picked the penis on the drawbridge.
Well, you're partial to penises, I can tell.
Anyway, vaginas with chickens inside of them is not. That's a problem. Do you go beak first?
I have no
They
idea.
could have done some damage.
It also, I'm assuming it was a dead chicken.
Oh, okay.
Assuming.
We just put like one of the drumsticks in there. I
No,
don't
the
know.
picture on the website, they wouldn't actually show the penis, but they did a prank where they just tossed a cat at like a McDonald's employee.
Nice. All right, so I was going to use something more annoying as my thing of the day, but instead I'm going to use something that's, maybe could be a news, but isn't actually a news article. What it is, it's an article on Bloomberg, and you always hear about how rich people don't pay taxes.
Yep.
Right? How they avoid taxes. Well, this actually specifically and in great detail lists 10 or so actual techniques and the specific things that the rich people do to not pay taxes, right? And here is my favorite one of them. You ready? So let's say you're a rich dude.
All right.
You have $200 million in shares of the company that you work for. You're an executive. You're on the board, right? You got $200 million in shares. You want cash, though. You don't want these shares. You got to sell those shares to get cash, right? And if you do that, you're going to pay capital gains tax. That's how it works, right? So if you sold today $200 million of shares in your own company, you would pay probably $30 million in capital gains taxes. How could you avoid those capital gains taxes? I'm going to tell you exactly how right now. Step 1, go to a bank and borrow $200 million from the bank.
All right.
Now you have a loan for $200 million. You got $200 million in cash.
Wait. So let me guess. Use the shares as collateral, not pay back the loan?
Well, hold on. Use the shares as collateral.
Yep.
But what happens if the value of the shares were to go up or down? Then your collateral would be sort of shaky, right? So you need to stiffen that collateral to make sure it stays worth $200 million.
I'm still thinking about the bridge,
so that you
stiffen.
so that you can keep the loan. Ready?
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that the shares are gonna be worth $200 million no matter what happens?
I'm not sure. How do you?
You buy options on the put and the call. So you have the right to buy shares at 200 and also the right to sell them at $200 million in the future.
You just do a standard hedge.
Yes. So now you bought options in the same stock shares that you just put as collateral. So now those basically the value of those shares, as far as you're concerned, is you can always use those shares to get $200 million no matter what the value of the stock, even if the value of the stock goes down. And if the value of the stock goes up, well, you can get more than $200 million.
Now, options do expire.
You
have to keep buying them.
That's right. You have to keep buying them over and over again.
All right.
Eventually, right, you can either, right, give the cash back to the bank and repay the loan, which would just mean that you had $200 million, you took a loan, and you gave it back. You don't pay any taxes, you just pay interest to the bank, right? Or and hopefully, if you borrow $200 million, I hope that you would be able to use it in a way to make more money than the interest. Otherwise, that was stupid. Or you can just give the shares back, right? If you just pay the loan back, then you don't pay taxes because all you did was take out a loan and pay it back. You don't pay taxes on that.
Sounds about right.
And if you let the collateral go to the bank and you keep the money, you do have to pay tax on that. But the tax bill comes many, many, many years later. Many years later. And during all those years, you had $200 million in cash that you could earn money with, and hopefully you would earn enough money with it to pay off that tax, effectively paying no tax. So you managed to turn $200 million in shares into $200 million in cash, plus, without paying any capital gains tax.
What amazes me is that...
And what's great, here's the greatest thing. If those $200 million shares go to the bank as collateral, if the bank tries to sell them, won't the bank have to pay capital gains tax? Or will they not because they're a bank? I don't know.
Well, I won't get into that.
Or will the bank just hold the shares?
What I find interesting is that the Republicans are really fighting the fact that currently one of the initiatives in the administration right now is to close a lot of these loopholes and instead of raising taxes, just enforce the existing taxes.
I don't know why there are any loopholes. Here's the...
Scott, I was about to tell you. You know why there's loopholes?
They're put there on purpose?
The Republicans, there were loopholes. I mean, it's pretty easy to have a loophole in an old law that you haven't updated.
Here's how I write the law. If you make money, no matter where the money comes from, no matter what country you make
what's
it in,
defined as making
it is
money?
taxed. Did the amount of money that you have personal control over
I don't have direct control over it.
I
don't have control over it. A friend of mine does. He lives in the Bahamas.
If you tell him what to do, is he legally obligated to do it?
I don't tell him. I just ask him.
And is he legally obligated to do it?
Not by any U.S. law.
If he takes that money and runs away with it and builds a mansion that's his mansion and lives in it and says "fuck you,"
Scott,
will you try to sue him or will that be considered stealing?
It's outside of the U.S. No, U.S. laws don't matter. So as far as the U.S. is concerned, yeah, sure, he can do whatever he wants with my money. Bahamas law is different.
The U.S. can just go ask the Bahamas, hey, money, whose money's that?
It doesn't work that way, Scott.
And we'll blow up the Bahamas.
But the real reason people can get away with this bullshit is because the Republicans are basically preventing any reform, saying that reform of the tax code to prevent the loopholes is effectively raising taxes.
I got a new law. You ready? If you are in Congress, we take away all your money. You're not allowed to have any money.
I got a new law. Ready? You ready? You ready?
Yep.
Carousel.
You want to be in charge of the government? Well, you want to do it so badly. You want power? No money. You take away all you must have $0. The government will provide you with food and shelter just like you're in the military. You'll be a public servant.
I somehow feel that there may be a more subtle and elegant way to achieve our ends.
I think that works, though. Do you want to be a public servant? There, you're a public servant.
Is anyone going to give up all their rights to be the mayor of Podunk, Iowa?
We're talking about Congress, federal Congress.
All right, so the super rich people control all the non-federal Congresses and effectively then control the country.
The state Congress people, they get exactly X dollars. Or they live with the local military.
Where do you set X, Scott?
Because
you realize if you
minimum wage.
If no one can live on minimum wage.
They'll vote to raise the minimum wage real fast, won't they? All right, we all get minimum wage here, right? Minimum wage. Boom, $1 million a year. So yes.
Minimum wage.
There you go. Solved.
And, of course, before we get to the main coverage, the meta moment, we will be at Anime Boston April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Not next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yes.
We will be there doing, I think, 4 or so panels.
I don't know which panels are doing. We're supposed to get the itinerary today. Well, I know some of them.
I've had it for a while. I just haven't really shared.
I know some of them. I just forget.
I'm pretty sure we're doing the How to Run a Panel because...
yeah, we're definitely doing that one.
Because there was we did it as a throwaway panel last year.
It was actually surprisingly fun to do, even though we didn't know we were doing it until we showed up.
Well, I was also pleased that we thought it was the throwaway, right? We walk into the room's packed.
It wasn't packed, but it was there were a lot of people in there.
It was packed, but it was a tiny room.
It wasn't completely. It was packed for first panel ever on Friday morning immediately as the con starts.
And it was in that itty-bitty little room, way around the corner.
It was surprisingly fun to do.
Yeah.
And without any preparation, it went well.
Especially because
I'm happy to do it again.
Especially talking about all the things that people do poorly in panels, and then watching people who were at that panel, at other panels, noticing those things is gold.
We should do it at Kineticon at 6 a.m., right, before the con starts is mandatory for all other panelists. And
ooh, a panelist, huh?
All panelists must be at the con at this time, must attend one of these sessions.
For dick punchings.
Or we're just going to cancel your panels.
All right, so anyway, we're definitely doing anime openers from around the world, new and revised.
Oh, snap.
We're doing Scott's Who is Hatsune Miku panel, which is actually...
updated technology, but not really revised.
Yes, but it's a panel that I think anime fans need to see.
It's in a big room, I checked.
Yeah,
it's in a big room at a big time, and it's a different color on the schedule. How about that?
Well, because you know why it's a different color? We're not just panelists at Anime Boston. We are preferred panelists. We are one step under guest.
Whoa.
We're not guest. We're not Vic.
Oh, whatever.
So yes, Anime Boston, we will be there. I think we're doing another panel. I gotta check.
I don't know.
Mike Toole, Daryl Surratt, Anime World Order, they'll all be there.
Yeah, there's enough panels done by either us or people close to us or our friends that you could go to just those panels and probably fill the whole weekend with awesomeness.
If you want to say hi to us, we've had a lot of fans coming up to us at cons, and it's great. The only word of advice I have is that don't try to talk to us after a panel. That's pretty much the absolute worst time to talk to us.
Because you have to leave the room because someone else is coming in the room.
Yep, and usually we go to dinner right after our panels, no matter when they are. So,
go to dinner right after the first panel on Friday morning.
Maybe lunch. So if you want to talk to us, come to the tabletop gaming area. And if we're not there, and we're not doing a panel, and we're not at one of Daryl's panels, or one of Mike's panels, or one of Gerald's panels, or one of Clarissa's panels, then what we're going to be at is probably the lobby of our hotel playing games.
Or dinner. But yeah.
If you find us, we might tell you where the good secret breakfast is, but
no.
we're not going to say it on the show.
I'll tell you to go to the Neptune, the Trident Cafe.
Trident Cafe is pretty much the second best breakfast in Boston.
That's right. That's the non-secret best breakfast. It's still great. It's fantastic, amazing breakfast, so you should go to it. And we're not going to tell you where the secret breakfast is, because then we won't get a table. You know what?
If you can beat me in Advance Wars, I'll tell you where it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
You.
Beat Mega Man 2 faster than Scott. We'll tell you where it is.
There are a few people who can do that.
Yeah, how many of them are going to be at Anime Boston?
I don't know. But we won't have a Mega Man 2 available.
Oh, huh. Funny that. The Geeknights Book Club book is...
Foundation.
A book that every nerd should read.
Asimov. It's actually, I bought the first 3 and then 3 separate volumes. My parents have a hardcover that's old that has all 3 in one. It's not actually that long, volume 1. This should be kind of easy. It'll probably be in probably next month or two, we'll do the book club because it's going to be pretty soon.
Yep. In case you didn't notice, registration for PAX Prime hotels already went up, and all the good hotels are probably already sold out. But if you hear this and you do not have your PAX hotel,
You should go get it right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're not right now, like tomorrow or the next day. Right now,
like
as
pause Geek
pause
Nights.
Geek Nights and do
You
it.
didn't pause it.
Otherwise,
You did seriously, dude. You didn't pause it.
Where are you going to sleep?
Well,
The gutter?
the Sheraton,
a mile away?
So, advice: Sheraton, best bet because there's gaming there Thursday and Monday.
Red Lion, 90% is good.
Red Lion is, I think, my favorite non-connected to the con hotel. It's like right there.
Well, there's only one connected to the con hotel.
Yeah, but the Red Lion, to be fair, is you have to walk like that 2 blocks over, but
That's not far walk.
You'll be walking over there anyway for the Elephant Castle.
That's right.
I love that Elephant Castle.
It's a pretty good place.
It's good, like late night. I'm tired food.
Yeah, I mean, it's typical. It's basically like a Fridays, but not Fridays.
It's the Boston equivalent of a
It's
Fridays.
Seattle.
Right, Seattle.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to Boston next
Yeah.
week. Going to Seattle in September.
And of course,
If you're booking your Anime Boston hotel today, Godspeed.
well, we know the dates for the next like 10 years.
Yep, I think that's definitely a cool move on Anime Boston. Realizing it's something that a lot of companies and other conventions and people in general need to realize is a lot of times there's no reason to keep a secret just for the sake of keeping a secret. If you have information and the information is finalized and there's not going to be any harm by releasing the information, it can only help. You should release it.
Better.
You should release as much information as possible, not
So
as
get
little
this,
as possible.
The information was hidden, right?
Mhm.
No, it wasn't, because you could just figure it out if you went to the Boston convention website.
Exactly. There was no it was already public. It was just hidden public.
So I looked into this.
At least now, right? Now
So
that
Scott,
they
I
made
looked into this, and Otakon still keeps it a secret. I think it's pretty trivial to know when every Otakon will be.
Yeah, from the BCC website.
Also, because we still have access to the staff site.
I don't have access to the staff site.
I still do.
I haven't tried.
I'm listed as suspended, but I can still log in and do everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway.
I haven't
but
even
join our
tried. I
forum.
don't even remember username or password over
Our
there.
forum's rocking. It's kind of an ivory tower. We've had a lot of new people joining. I think you'll like it. Follow the Geeknights
It's
Twitter
an ivory tower, but no elephants were harmed.
if you would like
Only
to
mammoths were
get
already
daily
dead.
tweets of our old things of the day and old good episodes. And of course, if you want to listen to as old episodes of Geeknights, because all 700 and whatever are online, every one of them is downloadable, even the beta Geeknights.
If you can find it.
Everything but the beta is just on our website, all the way back to the
Frontrecruiter.com.
beginning. Every single episode.
And after I get some other work done after Anime Boston, I'm working on some other websites that are almost done.
And
And then I'm going to do some big upgrades to frontrecruiter.com.
Yep, and the secret project I've been mentioning to people is coming along. Give it maybe a month, and you might start seeing some
Yeah,
stuff.
we're waiting for. We're actually. It sort of actually is a whole bunch done. We're just waiting for certain events to happen to coincide to get the timing right.
Yep, and I think it's.
But those events are scheduled, so it's pretty much gonna happen, guaranteed.
Yep, as long as I finish the editing, which is actually really on track. I'm learning Premiere pretty well.
Yep. In fact, here I'll give you a sort of a real date. Hold on.
Oh shit! Yeah, we can give a date.
Early May, like May 7th, sometime around early May.
Yep. Now,
first, second week of May.
astute people may be able to figure out what it is.
1st of May. Not the first, but for early May.
Well, on the 1st of May, I'll have something else for everybody, but
some outdoor fucking, perhaps.
I got something.
Perhaps some half out the door fucking.
But we are
One leg
talking
in,
about
one leg out.
the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Arts Festival, the MoCCA Festival 2011. We were there, as we always are.
How many mochas has this
Yay.
been in a row?
For
That
us,
we've done?
5.
I think I've been to the Puck Building 3 times, and I think this is the 3rd time at the
Second
Armory.
time, I think,
thought
at the
we
Armory.
were
I think
only
this is
at the
the
Puck
this is
Building
definitely the
twice.
3rd time at the Armory, at least. I
But
think-
anyway,
No,
we
was
also
it?
have a special guest. Emily is on the show because she came with
Hello.
us to the MoCCA.
Yes,
And
I
that-
figured it could be. This could be the yearly show that I'm on because I enjoy the indie comics.
It's
very
also a
much.
good test of our technology. We can actually have 8 people on the show.
Gaga.
Theoretically.
Gaga.
Also, we were going to discuss, pretty much all we're going to talk about is the giant pile of comics that we have.
And
But
we're doing it very
so,
differently this time around. Usually, we go around and I interview 100 people and we have all those just random interviews
You
of
did the
this is my
video
comic.
this year.
I didn't bring the Morants, partly because I was lazy and I wanted to just enjoy the MoCCA, and partly because I wanted to get some video instead, and we'll do some video later, but we're just going to talk about all the comics we got.
It was kind of funny because one of our friends came over. She had to tutor during the MoCCA, and so she came over for dinner that night. And she walked in the door, and all our comics were spread out on the floor. She's like, "Oh my God, how much did you guys spend?" And actually, it wasn't that much. I've spent more in past years.
I spent less than $100,
Yeah,
not
me
counting
too.
the surprisingly expensive but very awesome little miniature I bought.
I didn't actually count how much I spent, but I definitely spent at least $100. But other people spent more than me, and other people
Well, I
spent
credit
less.
our success in not spending money to the fact that, by and large, none of us bought anything we could just buy from a store
That
or on
was-
Amazon.
that was
I
my
did.
rule this
I bought a
year.
couple things.
That was my rule.
I bought a
was
couple
like, if I
things.
can buy it from Vertical's website or something like that, I'm not.
Vertical
going to-
wasn't even there. I
That's
don't
right.
think.
Vertical's Top Shelf was.
Yeah,
and a
it's like
bunch of other
if it's top
publishers
shelf,
were.
Fantagraphics, First Second, you
First
can use.
Second was there.
It's
Yep.
it's weird because they're still indie publishers, but at MoCCA they're big because they're the indie publishers, and Abrams.
Yeah.
You can get their stuff.
Scholastic was there too.
Were they? I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
But you can get their stuff on Amazon or from your comic book store usually. So
Yeah.
it's like why buying it at the MoCCA, it doesn't really help you
I
unless
was like-
maybe the person is there and you wanted to sign it
Well,
or something.
that's the thing. If it's somebody who you're really a fan of, I was this close to buying some Tove Jansson picture books, some Moomintroll picture books, but then I was like, no, you can get that later. You should buy zines that cost $2 and are printed on a photocopy, and you will never see again.
It's weird though because some of those you're like I'll never see again, but meanwhile you see them the next MoCCA, they're there.
Yeah.
If you want all of Diarrhea Diaries, you can still get it.
Yeah, but you know
Oh,
who
I
isn't
couldn't-
there? I couldn't find Prison Comics.
I couldn't get poor angsty Hungarian anymore.
And that's another thing is that, for example, the Depatoco booth, perhaps the most popular booth with the longest lines, right? You can buy all that stuff at depatoco.com, even though it's even you can't get it on Amazon
But
or whatever.
Kate Beaton isn't going to sign your thing
If you wait in line for like an hour.
on
Yeah.
the beaten path.
That's right.
Anyway.
I always
I'm going to
feel
make that
so-
joke every time I see her and there's a line forever.
I got to say, I always feel bad for the people who are next to the really successful indie artists.
Oh, it's
because
like, is it good
you're
or is it
happy-
bad?
No,
Because
you're happy at the
line of
artists who
peop-
are successful, but then everybody else gets ignored.
But there's a line of people that is in front of you, then they'll probably look at your stuff while they're waiting.
But
the foot traffic won't see you through the wall of people.
That's
There's a
true.
secondary problem. I think because I saw some people where I did feel bad for them. There was a popular thing next to them, and the people were crowded around that, not really in a line, just in a big crowd. And those people would kind of glance at the table next to it and just immediately glance back and never give it a second look because it wasn't that good.
Yeah, well, at the MoCCA, really quality rules, right?
Yeah.
If you're good at setting up a table with attractive stuff that catches the eye, you're gonna do all right.
So did you notice there was
It's not necessarily quality rules. Sometimes it's like it's got to be quality in a wide variety of spectrums. Like if it's very interesting, or it's really funny but poorly drawn,
or the dude
something.
is weird at the table.
Or it's like 50 cents and you put the money in the Mr. T bank or something. You're gonna be interested in that person.
Plus, there seems to be an explosion of things with anthropomorphized food, cute talking tiny robots of various sorts, or what's the other thing I saw a whole bunch of? Things that are related to just other geekeries in general, like
lots of
no
NES
ponies
stuff.
though I heard that a lot of people were asking for pony commissions of Yuko
you
and
say
Anand.
there are no ponies, but guess what? I have some secret ponies.
secret ponies.
That's right. In fact, I'll talk about this first, even though it's sort of riding.
Well, that our friend gave you that little rainbow dash.
That's
yeah,
true.
That was so nice.
I want to talk about this book, right? This book is actually probably the best thing I got at the MoCCA, so we're riding the tallest roller coaster first, but whatever, right? So I saw this book called The 12 Labors of Gastrophobia by David Maguire. It was $12.
Oh, is that the mythological one?
Right, so I bought this based because it looked cute. That's pretty much reason I bought it, right? And I read it last night, and let me tell you, this is fucking hysterical.
I want to read it. I was looking at it.
I was lolling so much. And what it's about is this Amazon who got pregnant, but she doesn't know how or from who. And she gets kicked out of Amazonia. And so she's living in ancient Greece, but it's mystical ancient Greece. Like there's sphinxes and minotaurs and biclopses and all sorts of, fantasy stuff. And she has a son who's Gastro, and her name is Phobia. And they have wacky adventures that are hilarious all over the place. And there were My Little Ponies in this book. There were also cameos by a Kate Beaton pony and lots of other webcomics and all and there's time traveling and there's all sorts of stuff. And the best part is I found out this is a webcomic.
The art's really cute, and I'd
It is,
actually
and
seen
it's-
links to it, but
yeah.
I'd never read it.
So I went to the website and like apparently this collects like the first 12 labors, but now they're on like the second set of labors on the website. There's a whole bunch of them. And it was so good, I added it to my webcomics list because it was so hysterical.
Do you know what that's referencing?
What do you mean?
Labors?
No.
Hercules.
Oh yeah, because it's Greek, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole. The thing is it's got a lot of Greekness going on all over the place, but it is also fantasy and humor,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of anachronisms as well all over the place.
So I picked up, there was this guy, he had 2 little comics. He had a bunch more, but one was called Kanji for Daily Use. And
I
then,
got that one. That's hilarious.
and the follow-up was Flightless Birds. Now, Kanji for Daily Use is what sold me because it's this panda, and it's like, oh, I'll learn kanji.
I thought it's a penguin.
Well, it's a
Penguin.
penguin,
I don't
and
know
it's
why I
a
said
girl
panda.
who wrote it.
But-
so.
I just picked it up. I think I picked it up from a table that wasn't the artist because I saw it at multiple tables.
Really? I'm
I
pretty
saw a lot of stuff at multiple tables.
There were, for example, another thing that I got that was at multiple tables is the pinball zine.
But let's see. Kanji for Daily Use. Let's see. Akumu, Nightmare.
That's not the first page.
Shipai, Failure.
Bye.
Unrequited Love.
Unrequited.
Alone. Regret. Alcohol. I think you see where
Basically,
this is going.
He tells a story in just single words, right? And next to each, on the left, you see the kanji and the the romanji and the translate and what it means. And on the right, there's an illustration, and the illustrations in sequence tell a sad story.
On the back, you know what it says? I can see the back. It says, "Fuck you," and the penguin's like, "That's not Japanese."
and then in the bottom right, there's actually a little area where you can practice drawing the kanji.
Yeah. But it's basically the story told through a textbook of a penguin's horrible, crushing depression and failure at life.
I was impressed enough to pick up Flightless Birds, which was just an actual comic.
Uh-huh.
And it's equally great. It intersperses the sad penguin with making penises in latte art.
Well, it's just about a indie comic artist who lives in Brooklyn, and sometimes she's really like kind of cynical in her presentation of stuff, but some of the stuff in the comic was kind of funny.
I was impressed. It was a fun little thing, and it was definitely, the price was right. This is the kind of stuff that you won't see except at the MoCCA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we had to stop by the Scandinavian corner.
Yep.
As
Oh
always.
my God, I bought a bunch of stuff over there.
I think we hit every Nordic country. We have we got one from Finland, we got one from Norway, and the one from Norway was great because it had no dialogue. It was, I was like,
No translation problems.
I know. It was like, does it have a paper? Or
It's
anything
like
that comes with
Tezuka's,
it?
what's it called?
The
Tales of a Street Corner.
Yeah. And so that one was really cool. I forget the name. It was something about the canal. It was
Oh,
in
I've got that
Norwegian.
one. That's in my
But it
pile. I
was-
will pull it out right now because
okay.
it was great.
It was
So
really cool.
It was Den Croquette Kanalen
And don't Norwegian people don't hit us for our pronunciation.
by Max Estes. I don't even want to say anything about it because it's
really
spoilable.
good. It's like
It's
this
way spoilable.
spy thriller kind of thing.
It's a
but-
spy drama with a dead drop, and
and it's all told in very stylized color, no lines really. It's mostly with light and shadow and like lots of blues and night tones.
lots
It's
of people
really
getting
pretty.
hit by cars and things too.
Yeah, but and it has cats.
It's great just for the end where there's a cop who's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, but it's what goes on in the streets by the canal at night.
I'm a big
And-
fan. I wish I could have a job where I'm paid by my government to go around the world promoting art.
Oh my gosh! But then
Is that their full-time job?
no, it's but there are.
But they are paid for that. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, go to
It's
France for a week
subsidized.
and tell people about Geeknights. Would you
Hey.
do that
The
if someone
thing
paid
is-
you?
The
Yeah.
thing is, it's not completely. I think it's not like they're paid by the government for everything, but the Scandinavian
government sponsors
country-
it.
Well, exactly. The Scandinavian countries have much better endowments for the arts and grants and stuff, and they do sponsor this trip to promote cultural exchange through the arts. And the U.S. has some programs like that, but not nearly to the extent that these other countries do, and that's kind of a shame. But of course, at the same time, you look at taxes, and nobody wants to pay taxes here.
Except they don't pay that many more taxes than we do.
I know.
That's the worst part.
And nobody in the U.S., if I was to say, help me spread indie comics to the world, all the Republicans and everything would be like, fuck you.
But
may
MoCCA
not
takes up
have.
one room for 2 days in a
Yeah.
big city, and it's like, and it's not that, it's only crowded like later in the day. So
Yeah.
that's the amount of interest you're gonna get in this one part. How much, it's not like if you're in the Northern Europe, you got normal people waiting in a huge line to see Don Rosa, right? It's a completely different situation.
So at the same table, I picked up Otto Nonchalangelo, little round dude who it's also a wordless one, and it's just little 4 panels, and he's kind of a dick, and it's kind of funny.
In a way, it's kind of like the anti-Ziggy. It's like, this little dude who's very like round and fat, and he goes around.
Ziggy's round and fat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he's kind of more not nice. Well, he's not.
Ziggy's nice.
Evil?
Ziggy's usually just completely boring.
No,
and
it's sappy, and the other one is maybe not so sappy.
all right.
So anyway,
Ziggy's pretty much just greeting cards nowadays, right?
I know.
No one
But
gives
back in the 70s, didn't Ziggy actually come from overseas? I don't know.
I don't know enough about it.
Anyway, so at the Finland table, I was happy too because I was able to recognize some of the Finnish publications, and it was Kanerva was the one that Timo gave us. And I was like,
we saw a little thing.
That's the thing.
And then all the people at the table were like,
We're
holy crap, I know who that
"Whoa,
is.
I know."
Oh.
But I was too embarrassed to say anything in Finnish. Besides, my Finnish is really bad. But we got Batuman.
Batuman is pretty great.
And we got a free comics newspaper, which had like a bunch of samplings of like.
Oh yeah, they had a big stack. That was something I saw more this year than ever. Was things that were printed on newsprint that were big. And I don't know if Wednesday Comics, which did come out between these two MoCCAs, had any sort of influence on that, right?
Well,
the
this was like
newsprint format.
This was like a collaboration between a Chicago independent comic collective and a Finnish independent comic collective, and so it's kind of cool. It was like half and half. But Batuman this is a first issue called The Sad Issue, and it's adventures of the Batuman, including bad friends, hipsters, and other depressing things. It's basically, it's Batman, and the art's very cute. It's little two-tone green and black, and it's just Batman comes over to talk to Catwoman about stuff because he's depressed.
So
but I thought they could only have sex in the space between the top of the bat pole and the bottom of the bat pole.
Anyway, so next to the Scandinavian comic table, right, a little bit to the left was this new NYU table, right, which was representing like this one group of this one major at NYU. I forget what the major is called, but basically it's like a pretty awesome major. I kind of wish I would have done it, or it would have existed, where like you do all sorts of crazy stuff. Like I heard this major. People would like make quote video games using like asterisk servers and payphones.
Yeah, it's the new program at Tisch, and it's like information.
It's like technology and art in the same major, basically, right? Yeah. So they had this little comic that caught my eye because it was about Arduinos, and basically all it is a little informational pamphlet that's also a comic that tells you what an Arduino is all about if you don't know, which is what caught my eye, and I just bought that because. But the thing that was really amazing at the table was something you couldn't buy, which is sort of like they were just showing off the students' work. I think trying to convince people to go to school there.
I was burned by that over at the SVA table. I was like, ooh, can I buy that? And they're like, no.
Yeah, but they had all these pop-up books the students had made.
Oh, I got a bunch of video of those pop-up books.
So
and there was
cool.
like, there was the Dune one, right? And what was there was one that was better than that.
Doom?
Oh, yeah, the Doom.
Yeah.
They had Doom, which was the best one. And then they had Dune. But the Doom one was just, it was so awesome. You open it up and it's like the cyber demons in there. It's like, oh, shit. that was freaking awesome.
I love the art of a pop-up book.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a high quality table. If I could go back in time, that's what I would major in.
I see a lot of schools doing the advertising there. SVA in particular, you get.
Well, half the freaking tables are SVA students.
I know, right? That's how I feel at my job. It's like every other animator I meet, they're SVA, and the quality of work that comes out,
It's
there's
a high quality.
pretty high caliber. So I guess I
don't think I've ever
recommend SVA as an art school.
I've never. Well, I think what it is. I think part of it is you can't get in unless you're already good, and I think part of it is that's just a really good school also. So it's
Well,
like you add the two together, and I've never met someone who went to SVA who does not have mad art skills.
or at least some potential there.
Yeah.
Of course, maybe they hide all that.
I saw
they don't
some
bring them to the MoCCA.
I saw some pretty bad, like at the I get all the inside dirt from my coworkers, but I saw a couple real stinkers in terms of computer animation. Those don't get put on the school demo reels,
Yeah.
Actually, kind of a random aside, but did you guys notice that this year, I think more so than other years, there was a surprising amount of price disparities for similar works at different tables.
Yeah.
Like I saw, I picked up this little comic. It was like 50 cents. Monster Country, just a cute little thing about monster girl who eats legendary magical monsters to get their powers, and it's kind of
Like Kirby.
Kinda. It's kinda like Goonie and
in a
weird.
spaceship.
like a lot. It reminded me just a little bit of Asshole Astro Boy, but in a different direction, like more towards Slayers. But it was like 50 cents or $1. Similar quality works were at other tables that I looked at. I'm like, ooh, this is great. And the guy's like, yeah, $7.
$7.
I'm like, $7 for a thing that you photocopied and stapled together?
Yeah, it's like, are you shitting me?
I usually went for like the $2 ones. If it was like more than 5 and it was just a monotone,
It had to be
photocopy
really
one,
Yeah,
good.
the
it
way
had to
I
be
see it, the way I see it, right, is that an actual comic book in the shitty floppy monthly format from Marvel or DC is $3, right? So if you're gonna charge me, and that's overpriced as far as I'm concerned,
Now,
right?
I
So if you're
modify it
gonna
up or
charge
down,
me
though.
$3, it's got to be at least as good as an actual comic book.
Like, if it's really great, I'll pay more for it, especially if it is still really indie and I'm not going to find it anywhere.
Or if you're bundling them together, or if you got a lot of pages, or
Yeah.
something like that. Or, for example, right, I got this. This, what they did is this reminds me of the stuff that we've seen from the Enforcer Land. Basically, they took a Batman the Brave and the Bold coloring book, right, and they photocopied it straight up. Complete. They didn't give a shit.
Really?
And then they went all over it, and they changed it from Batman the Brave and the Bold to Thrift Store Batman.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Thrift Store Batman, come quick, they're having a sale.
I did pick up one more
Buy one, get one free.
Oh yeah,
Scandinavian comic.
that was a Danish one.
Yep, it was a Danish one, and the guy was telling us a lot about Danish comics. Very short, very few words. The Man of Glass by Martin Flink, and
Is it about a boxer?
it involves a boxer.
Oh, it's really sad. It could be like
But
That's-
really
a
good.
movie or something. It
It would
feels.
It would
It
be a
is a
really good
movie.
movie short.
There are already
Yeah.
a bunch of movies that are just about a boxing and a guy is made of glass.
No,
This guy is not made. Well,
It was more about one's heart than about the actual body.
it's told very well in a just alternating between present, past, and future.
Yeah, this is another wordless one. See,
There's a few words near the end.
There's a few words, but it's really most of the stuff gets across without any translation or anything. So it's
Actually, now that I look through, there are no words really, except for one tiny scene until the moral at the end.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna go through a few of my $2 selections. For example, I got a very helpful guide to Gaga because I'm not gonna lie.
As in 8 people or as in lady?
As in lady.
With the magics.
With the
Is it like a
magics.
biography or what?
No, this is a dissection of the music videos.
Okay.
And it's here. I was having Judith laugh because I was reading her excerpts, and it's illustrated, right? So, telephone. Gaga is not actually in a club, nor is she sipping that bub. She is in prison for bitches. It is a rather sleazy place, but Gaga digs it, babe, because she gets to make out with hot muscle dykes and watch lady fights. Yay! Hey, you guys. Let's see. Where
I feel like
is
this
it?
covers kind of the
Oh
same.
my god, a surprise bailout on a telephone, I see. Well, she decides to celebrate anywhere by underwear dancing.
I think that will serve the same purpose that the literal music videos do for me.
It really does. It's really funny because it's they just go through shot by shot her more popular music videos and kind of highlight how crazy they are, Gaga is straight chilling with her house when she has this crazy vision. Oh shoot. She was born a freaky monster, born from a bathhouse pod. Unapologetic queen of the pod monsters. Rawr. So it's just got little pictures to show Lady Gaga.
We picked up this really little. Remember last year we talked about that the Sugar Spiders.
Oh, I love
24-hour
that.
comic?
It's so good.
Well, it was by Ira Rothwell, and she was there again, and she had another 24-hour comic, like this little watercolory thing, and it was pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And I got one called Flashlight. It's in full color by Megan Bear. And it's about kids. Oh, actually, the interior is not in full color. I lied. But they go down and explore an abandoned subway track. It's all about urban exploration with a flashlight. And I got one about sisters going to the ice cream truck. And one of the main reasons I got that is because the girls were really cute when they were selling it. And they had these little buttons where if you bought the comic, they'd give you your favorite ice cream on a button. And so
They only had a few choices.
Well, they made you choose, like the girls in the comic. Should I get a rocket pop, or should I get the chocolate eclair pop, or should I get
ice cream sandwich?
Yeah, the ice cream sandwich.
And
so
the red, white, and blue
forced
thing.
to make the decision like the girls are in the comic. But it was just really cute and very relatable as, growing up in the suburbs and getting ice cream with my sis. So there's that. And what's somebody? Oh, Swan Lake.
Yeah, this is just a direct retelling of Swan Lake.
Oh, really? Give me that shit.
It's really big format, too, and a lot of the faces were very reminiscent of Kate Beaton kind of faces.
Oh, I don't know. It's more serious.
It is serious. But just the way, like, when the swans are bored and kind of just regarding the guy, that's a very Kate Beaton face right there, where the eyes are. But
yeah, I can see.
It's just a straight retelling that's actually very artful and very good. Well, the story's very sad.
Yeah, I know. And then you got another retelling of a folktale with animal transformation, but not quite as seriously. It's called Derp the Comic.
Oh, I didn't even
because
read
it was called Derp. You bought it. That's the only reason.
I opened
flipped through it and it looked pretty
What's
good.
it, Derp? And then it was it's the Frog Tsarina story from Russia, where there's the enchanted frog and she turns into a princess.
Yep, he's like, you have to marry the frog because that's what happens.
Because that's what the Tsar says. And he's like, no.
Anyway, so I got this comic, Who is Amy Amoeba? And I bought it because it was an amoeba on the cover. And I was like, all right, whatever. It actually was a story about the amoeba who splits in half, right? And then it's like, I'm Amy Amoeba. No, I'm Amy Amoeba, right? And then as time goes on, it gets like really philosophical, like, and they like when there's so many amoebas, it's like they want to worship Amy Amoeba, but they're like, which one's the original one? And one of them claims to be it got really philosophical. It was actually quite surprising for a tiny little comic here. I got this thing that was it's basically like a few pieces of paper from, stapled together, called No Gods, No Kings, Only Cheeseburgers. It's from Michael Clayton at michaelclaytonillustration.com. And, it's just pretty much like black and white, sort of just little, a mixed up bunch of comics that aren't really related to each other, but they were actually really hilarious, especially this one about Spider-Man when he gets a boner.
I remember that one.
And it's like Spider-Man takes down gang while holding book. I didn't want to lose the book. That's why I kept it so close to me.
we were at dinner at a restaurant and sharing our comics, and I laughed maybe too loudly at that one.
I got this thing called Poop Toast because it was called Poop Toast, and it's about a piece of toast with poop on its head.
That was something else aside from the cute little robots and
toast.
Food is toast. I saw like at least 4 different comics that were like something toast. And I was like, what's with this hipster fascination with toast?
Yeah,
I saw 2.
Not Hero?
I saw one comic that was about actual lettuce and another comic that had a character named Lettuce that was a rabbit. So there's a lot of
no, there was a third one
with lettuce.
Yeah, there was one called Lettuce Girl, but it was about a girl.
That's the one with actual lettuce.
Oh, was it actually like she? But it's not anthropomorphic lettuce.
No, I guess not. Yeah. But it had anyway. But yeah, Poop Toast is about a piece of toast with poop on its head, and there were actually 3 parts. But you know what? It's not done. At the end of it actually is a continuing series.
about
And at the end of the third
Pokos.
part, it was like they got arrested, and then it was like to be continued. And I'm like, oh, are you shitting me?
That's how I felt about Poor Angsty Hungarian, which was my favorite from the MoCCA last year.
Yeah,
and
and
I
what
loved
what
so
is
hard.
up with earthworms always being a sidekick of some sort, right? Like Owly or Richard Scary, or and this, it's like the earthworm is always the sidekick character.
Maybe it's because you can make him cute, but you can't make him quite expressive enough to qualify for main character.
I don't know. I think we need something about a worm straight
Earthworm
up.
Jim.
He's not but these are he's like an actual Earthworm Jim has a lot more going on.
No, he's
Yeah.
an actual earthworm. He just happened to find a suit.
Anyway, I bought this. It was called The Three Little Gamers. I got it because it was called The Three Little Gamers.
And it had buffer weapons.
Yeah, it's basically, it seems like sort of one of those things. They tell the stories of their own nerdiness, and one guy's, two guys think they're cooler than the other guy because he's a buffer weapon guy, but they're video game guys. And it's by, let's see, MaggieSiegelBerrely.com. Oh, GameFanboys.com, March 2011.
So
I got something similarly called Controller, and I bought that
it's
because
so cool.
the design of it
packaging was
is that the
great.
packaging of the comic was in an NES sleeve. The comic looks like an NES cartridge, and it comes with a construction paper NES sleeve to put it in. Comic itself, wasn't that exciting. It was basically like, remembering, childhood and stuff like that, and a guy sort of being upset that he's like a big-time video game collector but doesn't really play video games anymore, and I don't know, wasn't that exciting, but the packaging was too cool to not to not purchase.
I picked up it was a hardcover book of Japanese monsters of the Bento Bestiary.
Oh, that looks
And
so awesome.
It got points because it had really good art and also really good text. Like there's a little story from the perspective of each monster. I think my
It had
favorite
monsters I didn't know about.
Yeah. I didn't know about
I'm a big bestiary fan.
the one I really liked was the Wan Yoda.
What does he do?
He rolls you to hell.
He's a flaming wheel.
Jigoku?
He's a burning wheel.
But I think my favorite one is the Umibozu.
Oh, Umibozu.
Because he's really
great.
cute, like this giant sea monster. And the text is, the fishermen always want to play the same game, but I don't mind. First, I'll pop up from under the sea and make the biggest of big waves. Then they'll scream because they're so happy. And they'll make the boat move really quick. Then there's usually some splashing, and I roar and laugh. And a bit later, they get really tired, and they go into the sea for a sleep. They must get tired really easy. And he's just really cute.
Yeah. I think the Umibozu is probably like whales or weird kind of tsunami effects or something. back
Tsunami
in
and
the
a whale
day.
at the same time.
No, but it's like it was basically like this big water that it's baby swamps. Okay, it would
Nah,
come up
baby
under
swamps.
come up under the boat and be like bloop,
Coming
and
all
they would be
getting all
like, "What's
mushishi there at
that?
the baby swamps.
What's that? It would be weird. I like the person who was like a cad. I forget. Anyway, moving on. I got a my pick of the cute robot thing was actually this kind of sad and melancholic little comic called Heaven All Day, and it's about the story of an inventor and a homeless robot. And while their paths do not directly cross, it's about the effects that, someone unrelated can have on somebody else's life, I guess. But it's, judging from the cover, I thought it was going to be more of a lighthearted thing, but it was very good, but it was kind of sad.
Mm-hmm. I bought this thing just because it seemed pretty cool, and because, there were so many robots going on. I was like, you will not tempt me with robots. I'm going to go classic and reward the person who has a dragon. So this thing, it was a little tiny book, and it said, "You stupid dragon."
Oh, I love that. I want to read that.
Right? So it's like, it's a book, and you flip the page, and as you turn the pages, you're following, it's a big, long green dragon. And as you turn the pages, you're following, this dragon, and there's all this sort of weird stuff all around him.
I love that style of, children's books often had themes like that.
Yeah, and basically you get to the end, and then you get to the beginning again. And the thing, it's really cool. If you actually unfold it, you'll see how he made it. Is he drew this big dragon on one big piece of paper, and then cut it in a clever way so that it folds into a book where you can turn the pages and follow the dragon. It's pretty fun.
That is cute.
I also got these two things. It's a pinball zine these guys are starting, and it was at two different tables. I think I said that already, because one of the guys at one table and one of the guys at another table. And
I just remember the guy at the table at the time was dressed somewhat hipsterish,
Mm-hmm.
and where I was like, "Tell me about your
Somewhat
thing. Like, what's the deal?"
hipsterish.
And he is like,
Somewhat.
he was like,
incredibly.
so we start talking, and he's like, "Man, you want to play some pinball? There's this place in Brooklyn. You've probably never heard of it. It's near Williamsburg."
Yes. Oh my God.
And I was just like,
it was
dude.
just so funny.
But I do want to go check out that pinball.
Yeah. Me
Yeah, but
too.
anyway, I started reading the first pinball zine, and it's pretty good because it starts out for like complete beginners. Like it tells you what all the parts of the pinball machine are and how they work.
Ooh.
And then it gets into some history stuff. And both of these zines, they actually have a lot of content in them for being, these small, sort of inexpensively printed books. And each one has a full color design of a non-existent pinball table. The first one has a Quidditch Harry Potter pinball table, which I don't care about Harry Potter, but it looks like a good table. And the second one also has an Avatar: The Last Airbender table, which looks like an even better table, but I care even less about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Though, to spite all of our friends from RIT who insisted to this day that Safecracker is the best pinball machine ever, they had heard of Safecracker and they said it was good, but it was not the best.
Yeah, if you want to go check out the zine, it's droptargetzine.blogspot.com. I'm going to try to get all the issues of this and read them all because it's really pretty interesting.
Speaking of hipsters in Brooklyn, this is another one I got for free. She was actually handing out these 20-page comics, and is called Wizards. And it's about this hipster girl who gets sucked into this vortex to a fantasy land, and she says on the cover, "I think I messed up." But it's wizards.tumblr.com. So I'm assuming it's a webcomic, and I'm going to have to check it out because it ends right when she gets into the magical world and after all these shenanigans happen in the real world. And so I'm like, why did you leave me at a cliffhanger? You know,
Get free taste.
Smart to get
That's
you
why
hooked.
she's not going to give away something for free that has closure.
True enough.
I picked up again. I still have to read. We have that play I bought at MoCCA last year.
I read
Parens.
it. I read it.
I want to read it.
It was depressing and full of drama.
Well, I picked up again.
Because it's drama.
I saw what looked like some Civil War drama comics. So I pick it up, and it turns out that A Brief Rest in a Shallow Grave and Other Stories is short fiction, as in just written fiction with a few illustrations. So I just bought everything the guy had because it was super cheap and he seemed cool. I haven't read it yet, but I don't know. I'm really feeling short stories again. And that was something I was really into in like high school era of my life. Like I just buy compendiums of short stories.
Short
and-
attention span theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was trying to buy something else, but I was sort of like, whatever. And I was on my way out, and there was this table that I had passed by a couple times, and it was a collective of Boston people, right? And they basically, what they did is they put all their mini comics together into two bundles, the red bundle and the blue bundle. The blue bundle was kid-friendly. The red bundle, not porn, but not exactly kid-friendly.
Oh, and it had those little screen prints of Paul Revere.
Right,
on
and it had that's how I knew it was a Bostonian thing, because it comes in a little cloth bag with a silk screen of either red or blue Paul Revere on a horse on the front.
Totally high quality.
So I just picked, I was like, I'll get the blue one. So here's what was inside. First of all, Bored Angel was in there. I was like, oh, I know Bored Angel already.
We have Bored Angel.
I have Bored Angel. But anyway, Bored Angel's good. There was one called Lummox, which was actually probably the best one that was in there. It's basically this big giant dude, right, who's an accidental superhero. He's actually really clumsy.
And he
but
just
all,
hits the bad guys
all his
accidentally.
clumsiness hits the bad guys. And it's pretty great. How to Grow a Giant Monster was literally How to Grow a Giant Monster by Eric Boecker at webcomicsnation.com/eboecker. Higher Ground. Well, it was actually Higher Ground is this thing about like dinosaurs, and this guy's like trying to open an egg, so he's trying to get to higher ground so he can drop it. And it wasn't particularly that exciting. It's by Shelley Paroline, but the art is really good. It's like yellow and then lighter yellow, and then it's pretty
It
neat.
looks cute.
Lightest yellow.
There was this thing called El Oso, which was entirely in Spanish. I could kind of follow it, but kind of not.
Oh, right. So speaking of Spanish, the only trade kind of things I picked up, they're issues, but it was put out by Archaea. They're not terribly small. Feeding Ground, which is it's 6 volumes apparently, and I got the first 4. It's printed doubly to where it's in Spanish and English.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
it's just
a
from the
werewolf
front is English, from the
tale.
back is Spanish. It's actually Were Coyotes. And it's like this werewolf story, but set in Mexican culture near the border, with the border crossings and the border patrol in the U.S. and the towns. And it's just an interesting take on the old werewolf story. And the werewolves are actually cool.
Speaking of werewolves, I bought a new Jason comic, Werewolves of Montpellier. And it's kind of sad because it's like I bought all the Jason comics in their individual forms, but now they're selling hardcovers that collect a whole bunch each. So it's like you could just buy all these hardcovers.
I almost bought all the hardcovers at the MoCCA.
But it's like I bought all the individuals. So
but
now
I was looking at them and I was
already.
like, oh, there's Jason in here I haven't read, and it's Jason in hardcover.
It's like I own all the Jasons. Anyway, the last two things in the Boston book, there was Spider Day Night Fever, which is just a whole bunch of Marvel characters drawn in hilarious dancing positions. That's all that is.
I can
and
dig
they
that.
were all Spider-Man characters. And the last thing was actually Reggie and Brian and the Lousy Nickname. And it's basically about this kid who lives in a fishing village, and he's a fisherman with all the other fishermen, right? Only he's young and they're all old. And they give him a nickname, which is Krusty, because his boat always has all the barnacles on it, right? And he basically tries to get rid of the barnacles so he can get his nickname changed to something else. So he goes and he asks the mermaid, and the mermaid, well, it's actually a merdude wearing a sweater. His merdude friend is like, oh, the barnacles, they just like your boat because it's the most comfortable. And he's like, oh, shit. Well, how do I get them off? He's like, oh, you just got to say the magic words, in barnacle language, which is ulululululululu. Right? So if he goes to get his boat inspected, so he's hoping he says ululululu to get all the barnacles off, and his boat is super clean. So he's like, oh, I guess we can't call you Krusty anymore. Your new nickname is Lulu. He's like, oh, shit. It was pretty funny. Even though I just gave it all away.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of these.
It's comics.metrokitty.com.
They tend to be like a short, like 6-page
It's
thing
like
that
one
has a
joke.
punchline.
Yeah, that's the thing is like if a comic is just one joke and I don't tell you the joke, then you're not going to understand why it's worthwhile.
Why we like it, yeah.
But it's like if I tell you the joke, then you're not going to need to read that comic. But the thing is, all these people, this is just like, you can go to their websites and get more of their stuff.
Yeah.
To get all the jokes.
Most of this stuff is available online for the most part.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll just put their webcomic URL on it. And so really what you're doing by buying these things, it's not even that. Like half of them you won't ever see again and you can't find it, and it's just like people making zines. And the other half, it's like support webcomic artists. Hooray. So
does anyone else have anything?
I have one last thing. One of the things I picked up, I want to geek bite this sometime, but it's a really cute Japanese
is that the learn
comic.
kanji / lesbians thing?
No, it's not learn kanji.
It's not learn I always assumed that was a learning kanji book.
No,
I never actually read it.
kanji means kind of like Rika. That's like because it says Rikate kanji. You thought it was a kanji book
I
about
assumed that it taught you
lesbians.
kanji. I'd never looked inside of it.
No,
Because I've seen it laying around.
It's this book I picked up back when the MoCCA was in the Puck building, and it's a Japanese indie comic, but the author, I think she either lives here part-time or full-time now, because she really likes New York, and she's been published in English by Annie Lesbo Publishing. But the cute thing is it's very, very different than your usual manga. It's like dot eyes, very, very doodly kind of style. And
I dig dot eyes.
it was actually one of the first popular, well, for an indie comic, Japanese comics that dealt with lesbian issues in a real way and wasn't all tragic or wasn't all explicit. It was just two college girls being like, I like you, and, kind of getting on with their relationship and going to school and stuff. And so the one I picked up this year, I talked to Rika Takashima, who was there, and she signed it for me. But it was the
some
Rika
Vocaloid.
Tekanji. Well, I picked it up partly because it's got Vocaloid cosplay on the cover. But it's a little indie comic about one of the main characters from Rika Tekanji growing up, Miho-chan. And it's about her as a little kid. She's very tomboyish. It's not even so much about being a lesbian. It's more like about being a girl who likes to run around and get into trouble. It's
Rainbow
very
Dash.
cute.
Being 20% cooler.
20% cooler. That's exactly the phrase
I'll have to read
use to
Rika
this-
kanji.
Yeah. The only sad thing is this new collection that I bought. It's unfinished. It's pencil sketches because the earthquake was very upsetting, and she spent a lot of time contacting her friends and doing volunteer stuff and everything. So she didn't have time to finish before the MoCCA.
But she had time to print it.
Well, you know, it's like she took her sketches and put it together,
Yep.
but it's like she didn't concentrate full time on the comic. And I guess a lot of the Japanese people who I know, you know, if they're artists, they tend to be a little behind because of stuff that's been going on. So anyway, I'd recommend that, and especially the original Rikate Kanji. It's very cute.
I mean, overall, I'd say the MoCCA was as good as last year. In fact, I say better than last year for one reason. They only turned on half of the ceiling lights.
Yeah, and thank goodness they had some airflow in there. There
It
was
was
A
one-
little bit.
I didn't
There
realize how
was-
hot it was
It
until
doesn't.
we
It
left.
doesn't really get hot until later in the afternoon when it gets crowded. Early
And
in the day, it's
also,
actually pretty good.
You go into that one corner
the
by
cool
the
corner.
back, and it's like the corner with the door venting
Yep.
in, and it's just like,
The
oh
artist
my
entrance.
god, it's
So
so,
good.
nice over
Right.
by the artist entrance.
So one more thing that I got there, right, was the thing that was getting a lot of people's attention because the production value of it is just so incredibly high is the Anthology Project. And the Anthology Project's actually been around. I guess it's sort of like the same thing as Flight, only smaller and hardcovers. It's the same idea anyway, right? Get really high quality arts into an anthology book that's with high production values.
Aren't they typically all they're not actually comic artists? They work in other aspects of the
It
visual
doesn't really.
arts,
I only read the first volume. I didn't read the second one yet.
like
but
animators and stuff.
It doesn't really say. It's just like Anthology Project. All right, here we go. Comics. And they're all really, really well drawn. Like there's a wide range of art styles, and the arts are all, no matter what style it is, they're all pretty amazing. But I think I would totally believe that these are not comics people, because a lot of the comics, especially some of the wordless ones, it's hard to follow. Like, obviously, the person has skills in drawing, but not doing sequential flow in any way. So it's like you can't tell what's going on unless you go really slowly and really try to think pretty hard about it. And you know, a lot of the writing on some of them was, you know, uninteresting, but the art on all of them was amazing. I don't know. Volume 2 is thicker and is newer, and the cover is cooler looking. So maybe that'll be a different story. But I mean, the art is just as amazing. And they had a special deal, buy both for $50. That's $25 each. That's a pretty good deal for such like, it's like, you should see, if you look
Very
at these things,
glossy.
they're like, you know, it's like the highest quality, most expensive printing you can get. So, you know, you buy this, the sort of the same reason you would buy something like Robot or Apple, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, beautiful, expensive, high color printing of awesome arts that happens to be comics, you know. And then maybe some of them are actually good comics. They're all really short. And it's a lot of eye candy, basically.
So I guess
Beauty.
last and not least, we can at least talk about that the Johnny Wander crew finally had a table.
Yay, finally.
Yeah, they
after
never
all
had a
these
table there, even though they've
years.
gone there every year.
Yeah, every year we're like, how come you guys don't get a table? And they're like,
It's expensive.
It is
and I don't
expensive, but it's
know.
for charity. It's not like PAX or New York Comic Con where it's, you know, it's going into someone's wallet, right?
I'm always
You're-
amazed by
the-
like this,
the
all
reason
the
that-
students and stuff that have
The reason the
tables.
tables are so expensive because that's the fundraiser that keeps the MoCCA around.
Yay.
Anyway,
Okay. Hooray. It was a fun fest, and we told you all about a bajillion comics, and now we're going to go. Bye.
yeah, well, and don't forget the funniest comic was 12 Labors of Gastrophobia. So you should go to the website for it, which is, I guess, I don't remember.
well, I'll actually, I will,
Gastrophobia? Just
I
Something-
will
yeah.
promote.
Google
David
it.
McGuire. It is so hilarious. I'm not even joking.
I will stand by saying that you should probably check out the the Feeding Ground, that coyote Mexican werewolf story,
From
because
Archaea Studio Press, also
Yep,
publishers
because there's-
of Mouse Guard.
I read the first 4 and it was good enough to where I pretty much have to buy the next 2 to find out
It's
what happens.
kind of hard to go wrong buying anything that's published by Archaea.
Pretty much. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night. see the car on fire. You'd be like, huh? And then he looks out the front window, and then boom.
That's awful.
Because he looked at the cutie marks.
I'm waiting for the pony whose cutie mark is a pony.
So, but that's like
They're just gonna make
but
babies.
That's like a Damon. That's like saying Scott being like, my Damon is a little man.
Yeah, so what's that pony? Maybe that pony's just really into ponies.
Could be a doctor.
If it was a doctor, it would have a stethoscope.
An
A
anatomist.
whore.
I wonder if people's cutie marks get outmoded. So, like, they could have the computer pony, and then if they started computer in the 70s, they'd have, like, a little tape computer.
Well, Mr.
and
Breezy's
stuff like
way
that.
old, and his cutie mark is that old style fan.
See, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if when you get your cutie
Well,
mark,
Granny
like,
Smith has a Granny Pie.
But Granny Smith Apples doesn't, I mean, maybe that's just why she's...
Pie doesn't go out of style.
yeah, pie doesn't go out of style.
But here,
but
what
if
about,
you're a
like-
technology?
Well, what about
pony,
there was
right?
like the ponies in Cloudsdale had like footballs and basketballs and stuff and right. So what if
soccer balls change all the time.
well, no, but like what if you're into football and you're like a football star, but then football goes away because no one cares about it anymore, but you still have a football in your
You're a
eyes.
sad pony.
Yeah, well, if football is your life to the extent that that's like being a high school football star and then failing.
No, that's like having a Hartford Oilers tattoo.
Ooh,